the days ahead. So whether you work with or run an NGO, or you are a development entrepreneur, or you are running an impact-based project within your community, or you are a passionate nation builder, a civil society agent, right? Or you are a full-fledged for-profit entrepreneur who wants to see how to also support, those at the bottom of the pyramid in your society, for example. It's important to see how COVID-19 is shifting and reshaping the structure of our economy, the structure of our cultures, the structure of our society, and how these changes and these transitions now call for innovative models and approaches to solving problems in our country, on the continent, right? And these are the kind of conversations that we look forward to having with Somto today. He's a social entrepreneur and an international development specialist. He currently serves as the Advocacy and Communications Manager at Farm Access Foundation, which is an international NGO dedicating to facilitating affordable access to quality healthcare in Africa by stimulating investments in the healthcare industry through partnerships with the private sector, as well as government institutions. Is also a PhD candidate currently at Erasmus University in the Netherlands. We are so delighted to be joined by this thought leader, and we look forward to the brilliance that he's going to bring to the conversations tonight. So I am going to be welcoming Somto, unmuting him and getting him right onto his session tonight. So just let's be great participants to the conference. Can you just put up on your chat a great welcome for Somto, as he's going to be coming up now and taking the spotlight. We will be back with questions and generally sharing some of the insights he passes on to us, and then building a conversation around it. But for the next about 20 minutes, Somto is going to be sharing directly with us, and it's going to be such a breathtaking time. Okay, so guys and ladies, make welcome Somto Mbelu. I am currently making an attempt to unmute him and then to make him the spotlight video. So give me a moment to get him unmuted, and for sure we will be able to start. Okay, so Somto is right on now, and we're very excited to welcome him.
Okay, thank you, DDK, for this awesome opportunity to really share my thoughts. Are you going to share the slides from your angle, or should I?
Okay, I can share for you. Would you like that? You just have to come to me. But if you can share from your side, that's also great. Are you able to share from your side?
No, I think I'm not enabled to share, but you can share. Right. I think that's fine. Okay. If can I have it put up now?
Okay, I'm getting on it right now.
All right. So before DDK gets the presentation up, I must say a very, very big thank you to DDK Debola for giving me the opportunity to really share my thoughts at this time. She's been a very, very awesome friend and sister, like I always call her, who I'm so proud of the amazing and inspiring job she's been doing over the years, and also the globe of Africa. She's one of our treasures in Africa. And I really have to say a very big thank you for what you're doing. And it's such a pleasure, doing this with you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so today I'm going to be talking about, today's presentation is basically to, talk about how we can reposition ourselves as development professionals and entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs in times like this. Unfortunately, we are being faced with a crisis, a situation that we never believed that we all will be in this situation. In fact, I know many people, if you tell them like 7 or 8 months ago that we are going to be on lockdown and we're going to be experiencing this, what we are, they will say, that's just a big lie. And also, I've spoken to most of my elders or my parents, and most of them say they have never seen this in their lifetime. So it's quite a very, very, very strong season for us. But I know when there's always morning, when you have night, you're always going to have morning. So it's a phase, and I know we have to pass through. But one question is, how are we preparing for this new phase? How are we getting set to really launch out, because I see this is a time for rejuvenating, time for more insight and inspiration. How are we getting ready for the post-COVID society? How are we re-strategizing? Because the truth is that we're launching into a total new different world. So in my presentation today, the next slide, please. I'm just going to be talking about, these are my outline. And the first of it is historic pandemic timeline, because I think before we go forward, it's good that we have an insight to really check, has this happened in the past? Because when did it happen, what year, and what was involved? And then we'll also talk about the economic effects of the COVID-19, because of course, as development enthusiasts or development people or social entrepreneurs and innovative change makers, we know that most of our work are dependent on international donor partners or people that are supporting our work, or even partners that are engaging us to do what we. So it's good that we also have a clear idea of what the economy looks like. So we start buttoning up. If we have to start tightening up our budget, to start saving more money, and we start making sure that we do the right thing and spend money in the right way. And then the next one is we are going to be talking about the structural factors that worsen the economic crisis. So of course, when the country goes through some serious economic problems, of course, there are some certain things that will also go with it. So it's good that we have those ideas. And as social entrepreneurs, I think most of the time we're solving problems that are dependent on the problems on ground. Because if there is no issue, what are you solving? So I think this is one of the most amazing time for us change makers. And I tell myself that I say after this period, we are going to have the COVID heroes. Are you preparing to be a COVID heroes? Are you a hero? Are you preparing to really go out there to say, oh, during this period, this was what we did, or this was how we prepared, to launch out in the next season? So the next one, we're going to be talking about crisis and social change, because I call this a crisis. And how do we, really react to this crisis? How do we really respond to it? And in what light will social change makers or entrepreneurs or thought leaders, how do we really react to this? And the next one is role. As entrepreneurs, as change makers, as people who want to really make impact, what actually is our role in terms of really, matching up this crisis? And next, we're going to be looking at some social entrepreneurs in Nigeria who are already making some impact as it's going. So it's no more post. Some people are immediately, taking some, giant and very inspiring move, to really match up the season with a whole lot of projects that will really change the situation on ground. And then we'll look at the SDG 2030. And I know we also have wooden social entrepreneurs in the house, or people who want to start up social enterprise. And there are going to be questions. How do I focus? What kind of projects should I be working on, in the post-COVID season? And of course, I understand that because of the way things are going, the SDG 30, the SDG we have now might change a little bit, but it will give you a clear picture on what to start looking at and what we start working on. And then the last one is soft skills for social entrepreneurs. To me, I think this is the ultimate, because for you to be successful generally in life, there are some basic skills you have to possess for you to really launch out successfully. So you can be so intelligent, you can have the whole technical know-how, you can have everything right, but if you don't have the soft skills, it might be quite difficult for you to really make progress in this circle, or basically generally in life. So these are my outline, and I'll take you through it, and let's see how it goes. So next.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So this is a slide on the pandemics that have happened many years ago. The first one is the Black Death, the bubonic plague, which happened in 1347 to 1315, and this took over 200 million people. The next one is the smallpox. This one took in 1520, took over 56 million people. And this was estimated in Europe that during the 18th, it's estimated that 400,000 people died and was killed by smallpox annually before the vaccine was actually found. In 1918 to 1919, over 40 to 50 million people also died of the Spanish flu. And I and the next one was the physics online. People feel, oh, there's nothing more, there's nothing to do. The world is coming to an end. This is the first time that this is happening and all that. So, but the idea here is that this has happened in the past. And if you're not preparing your mind, both intellectually, psychologically, and spiritually to really back up in the next season, you will be left behind. So this has happened in the past, and it's not the first time. So it's time that we start, already getting ready for the post-COVID society. Next slide. So like I mentioned earlier, as social entrepreneurs, we are concerned with figures because we'll be dealing with, of course, most of us get our funding from philanthropists, international organizations, and donor partners. And that is why I really want us to also understand the economic effects of the COVID-19. According to the IMF, the global stock market already has erased over $6 trillion in wealth in 1 week from 24th to the 28th of February. And already the market has lost over 5 trillion in value in also the same week in US. So that will also show you that this is also having strong effect globally on the economy. Also in UK, you can also find out here that the UK's government also in UK, you also find out that according to the UK's budget responsibility office, one that on the 4th of April, he said this was stated on the 14th of April, that the country's economy could shrink by a record of 35% by June 2020. And it also estimates that UK unemployment can rise to over 2.1 million to 3.4 million by the end of June. Of course, most people get funding from international organizations, from UK and from other organizations. So I'm not trying to say that things might go bad, but it's good that you start looking at this is a global issue and we have to start tightening up. Also in the US, around 4.4 million Americans have already filed unemployment claims in the week ending of 18th April, showing that a continued estimate of coronavirus on the US economies. That means that more than 26 million people have lost their jobs in US over the 5 consecutive weeks. And that means that unemployment is already, ravishing the US economy. So this to show you that this is something that has, is really taking, strong issue, globally. So let's also go to the next slide. The next slide, which is Africa, our continent, shows that that Africa employment already, we are battling with our problems. We are battling with malaria, HIV/AIDS, and other deadly diseases. So already in Africa, we are likely to, unemployment is likely to hit urban areas with the sectors of both in manufacturing and services, which already accounts for 64% of the GDP in Africa. And this is also expected to hit other firms and businesses. That's to show you that this is also getting close to home. And then we'll take it to Nigeria. We can find that the major market indices in the stock market plunged because, people now tell you that you have to change your market to, of course, we see that dollar has moved over, have moved to about 400 and something. And that should tell you that there is issue. Already the stock people are moving their money to the treasury bond.
Yeah.
And that should show you that people are really, taking money out of the economy. It says that barely 3 weeks after the first case of the coronavirus, that Nigeria has lost, the stock market has lost over 2.3 trillion. And that's barely 3 weeks after the first case of the coronavirus, which was confirmed in January. So since January 28, 2020, when the first index case was announced, people were leaving, people were putting in their money in the international shores already.
Wow.
So basically, the idea is that the truth is that we are going to feel this bite, like
Yes.
that the economy is never going to be the same for a while. As social entrepreneurs and as business people, how are we positioning ourselves to ensure that this doesn't meet us on our way? We just wake up and suddenly we get confused. Already it's happening. Next slide, please. So in this slide, I'm going to also talk about the effects that it's having on the economy. Already Nigeria is plumbed with poor health infrastructure.
Yes.
And now we heard in the news that they are saying that in Lagos State, that the beds are no more enough to contain people, and they are telling people to provide their houses, empty houses, so they can use it to house people who have this virus. Already, for example, in the US or in the advanced world, people are easily working online. People are having lectures, things are happening. But as our digital economy is weak, you know, people, we don't have we don't have good network, we don't have good internet, you know, to really move our businesses or whatever we do forward. And this also coupled with the crisis we are having on ground. How do we move this forward? And also lack of social welfare. We could see, because Nigeria does not have good data for its people, it does not have good social welfare system for its citizens. Already, we could find out that the lockdown, I think why they even eased it off, was that people that make money daily are already getting angry because they cannot even find food to eat. Yes. They cannot provide for their family because the country is already experiencing a very, very strong, because the country already has a weak welfare system for its people. Some days back, my brother in France, you know, sent me some pictures of what the kind of welfare they receive weekly. In fact, it is far from what even you see. You can't even compare with the palliative that the Nigerian government is giving to its people. So to tell you that we have very poor welfare system in our country. But why am I also talking about this? To me, you might see poor health infrastructure, a weak underdeveloped digital economy, and lack of social welfare program. To me, what I see is opportunity for social entrepreneurs and for change makers to look at this and say, at this point in time, what do I do to help the situation on ground?
Yes.
Because heroes are not made in the time of when things are working or when things are fine. Heroes are made in the time of war and the time of adversity. So I think that this is the time for social change makers or thought leaders or problem solvers to put on their thinking cap, to start thinking, what do we do to really solve this problem? Because the issue is not left only on the government. You know, even with you at home, with you where you're sitting, how do I start making how should I start thinking? Already, I watched in the news that I saw some guys, you know, in Jos who are able who are developing ventilators, and they are testing it, and I think it is working. So I think instead of us, you know, sitting, I understand the mental issues around here. I understand that people are depressed, but you can also choose the other way to start saying, instead of being consumed by the situation on ground, how do I contribute to solving the problems on ground? Next slide. So crisis and social change. How do social entrepreneurs, what role, how do we come into this situation? It's a crisis has an interesting way of inciting positive change. Historically, national and global economic downfall has paved way for social entrepreneurship. In fact, it's only commonly viewed that the official registration of social enterprise took place in the context of economic crisis. The social impact sector is typically understood to grow during times where the economy as a whole begins to slow down. Wow. I take the next point. No, still on the last slide.
Okay.
Go back. Yeah. I said in the business world as a whole, some of the biggest and the best inventors have come during the times of economic and social shock. By nature, entrepreneurs are keen to react to economic changes, and much innovation comes out from the period of financial crisis and recession. So basically, just like they say, a lot of things are made out in the times of trouble. Personally, I've seen generally in life, when you're experiencing a downturn personally in your life, you can always look out the other way. If you're a Christian, you could say, oh, what is God, or what is God trying to tell me about this situation? And I think that is what I'm looking at in this situation now. That they said that every time there is a crisis, it is time for inventors, social innovators, thought leaders, and leadership experts to come in. And that is the time that innovations have been born. The other day I was reading that I think companies like Uber and some digitally placed companies were born during the recession. So this is time for us to start looking at what can we do? What can we do? Already, I can see that a lot of grants that are being put out online, both globally and different places, telling people to develop homegrown solutions to their own problem. For example, in Madagascar, I was reading some days back that Madagascar was able to develop herbs that their people are drinking, and miraculously they are getting well. And I also read that the Nigerian government wants to go and import those herbs that Madagascar is giving to their people. Maybe we'll start taking it to see. But how are we looking inwards? That's just an example. There are different ways that as social entrepreneurs, as thought leaders, that we can really look into the problems that we're having to develop or to grow solutions for them. So my question to you is, people see problems. What are you seeing? It's just like you bring some businessmen to some certain area. They just go view the place and they come back. And when they come back, they develop it and they start making money. But you have been there all your whole life. You didn't see what they see. So the question at this point in time, are you on the bandwagon of people who are complaining, the one bandwagon of people who are just feeling that they have nothing to give? Or are you also in the bandwagon of people who see that this is the time to start thinking or to start seeing what others, a way of solving the problems on ground? The next slide. There is this is a very favorite quote by Judith Smith. It says, there is always an opportunity with crisis. Just as it forces an individual to look inside himself, it also forces a company to re-examine its policies and its practices. So to me, every opportunity, just like in life, when you fail an exam or when you have an issue in your life, you go back to the drawing table. What am I doing that I'm not doing right? What can I do to improve? How do I develop myself? And most of the time, we find out that people who have failed have bounced back more than they were in the past. So the question is, both your personal life, both as entrepreneurs or both as social entrepreneurs, this is an opportunity for us to assess ourselves. And I tell people that there was never a time that you have this kind of time in your life that you have a month to just be at home and eat and just to yourself and to your family. And I don't also think, and I don't pray for it, that by the special grace of God, we don't get to have this kind of scenario. But the fact is, are you wasting this crisis? Are you wasting this period? Are you wallowing in the problem on ground? Are you using it to develop solutions, just both for yourself and for the world? Or are you just, complaining and just letting this time to slip away? So even as organization, how are you strategizing to launch out in the next period? For example, we've figured that everything has moved online. Everything has gone digital. How are you also leveraging on the digital platform that are made available to fast track your business? If you're not going online before, if your business is not online based, now that you have all the whole time in the world, how are you really, developing and re-strategizing to really move out in the post-time COVID? Next slide. So this is just what I think that the innovators and change makers should do in times like this. So for innovation leaders, a time of crisis can be an essential threat to your efforts, though of course we understand. Or it can also be a real opportunity to create value and to define solutions to help the organization effectively navigate the rough terrain. I think this is time to also look at, how do I fashion my program? So for example, we all have programs. We all have programs that we've designed for 2020 or for the next 6 months, depending on how your programs are being set up in your organization. As a social entrepreneur, even as a business person, you have been able to analyze the situation in ground. I believe there will always be a way you can plug your organization or what you're going doing in such a way that you're going to really merge it with the situation on ground. I'm already seeing people going, seeing a lot of creative face masks. You know, that is innovation. People are designing it and it's looking so beautiful, and very soon it becomes fashion and people start paying for it. I'm also seeing telemedicine platforms. Before, people now contact their doctors through their telephones. These are platform people are setting. You know, so these are people that are thinking. These are how people are strategizing and looking at how do we really, you know, merge with the situation and go ahead with it and become even much better as an organization. So next one is provide strategic content. So I think this is a time to really define or understand your organizational strategy. If we are moving in that direction, how do we re-strategize to really fit into this, the problem, the solution on ground? How we have to move our management meeting from having our management meeting, everyone, of course, you understand the issue of social distancing. You don't even have a choice, it has gone online. But also going online, how do you ensure that your organization functions seamlessly? And you may also feel that this is also a very big advantage to a lot of small business people, entrepreneurs or social entrepreneurs who are always looking for fun to have an office, apartment, or set up a place. Now, everything has been done for you that with your phone, with your laptop, with every facility, you can reach anywhere in the whole world. Already, I also see some documents, some opportunities online where you can also, where I found out that Ivy League universities like Harvard, Cambridge, all of them already have seen how do we also play a role in supporting the institution. They have already released a lot of online courses on a normal day you might not have access to. Are you taking leverage of such opportunities? So develop responses. As an entrepreneur, as a business person, you don't let the problem to hit you. You have to strategize in such a way that you respond to the issue rather than allowing the issue to respond to you. Innovation leaders should also examine the existing pipeline of ideas and reassess them in the context of the crisis. How are you reassessing, re-strategizing the plans or the ideas you have to fit this particular situation we have? Then the next slide. So rearrange your assess and rearrange innovation ecosystem to encourage more existing. I think this is the time just to go over the slide more quickly. I think that in this you have to look at your processes in your organization. Time to cut off bureaucracy. Also time to also examine how you do your things. How do you also cut the funding that you spend or money that you spend in your business? How do you do it in such a way that people still earn their salaries and funding is also because so you have to rearrange and just redesign your entire organizational system. And also you also have to look at leveraging digital technologies. So this is very, very, very important. Now, I also worked recently when people are having weddings online. Whoever thought that you can actually have your wedding online? The one I saw was that they even contacted the MC, contacted the people that would deliver the food at home. And if you watch the video, it was done such seamlessly and the couple were happy. So this should show you that things are changing. But for us to really fit into this particular current situation as organization and also as individuals, it's time for reassessment. It's time for you to re-strategize and organize yourself in such a way that you respond to the issue. And how do you do that? You have to reorient your entire innovation ecosystem. Next slide. So someone might be saying, oh, how do I really have a clear system on how to do this? So that is why I got this small chart vision. Even as you're trying to reinvent or re-strategize or reorganize your system, it's good to have a process. So looking at vision, you have to look at what even made me start this organization? What even motivated me? What was my initial passion? What was my initial focus? What was my initial aim of doing this? So most of the time, you will see that most of the things that we are working on, or most of the plans we are designs, programs we are designing are human-centered. And now the world is moving to a place that we just want to breathe and we just want to be alive. So you have to still stick to the mission, do some research. How do we, read things online, try to look at other organizations who are already doing things in the area you want to do. You want to also carry out your own activities and see how you're going to learn from what they are doing and also replicate it in your business. Then brainstorm. For you to understand where you're going to, you understand what is the situation on ground, where's the situation, when, why, and how. So these are questions you should be able to ask yourself, putting on your thinking cap, being able to brainstorm on understanding what do I really want to get out as an organization? What are my major goals? What strategy do I want to employ? Of course, that's the next step, strategy. Now, are we using the strategy of going virtual? Are we using the strategy? What strategy are we really putting in place in such a way that we will come out strong from this, that we will have a business that will be able to respond to the COVID situation as soon as this period is gone. And then basically, I also think that this also chart really reflects on the life of everybody. And I believe as an organization, as an individual, they say the day you stop learning is the day you start dying. So even whatever you've become, there is always an opportunity to learn more, and there's always an opportunity to become. So what steps or what strategies are you putting in place to become? What strategy are you also putting in place to impact your generation? And I keep telling people that even a common chair, when you make a chair, the purpose of a chair is for you to sit on it. Even a common chair has a single purpose, and that is to people to sit on it. So it will actually be a shame somehow, permit me to use that word, that we all come to this period and we all come to this life or be in this place, and then we just leave without having something to give to the world, without having something to live with the world, without having something to leave our generation with. So that's why I said that these are periods of self-destruction. Most of the biggest innovations, most of the things you've seen in this world are because people were challenged by their situation they were in and decided to brainstorm, re-strategize, and set their goals. And that is why you are seeing most of the inventions you're seeing. If you read about the Ford family who invented cars, think about the Wright brothers who invented the plane, and some other people, even most of this vaccine you see, most of these people went ahead to start working on this vaccine because most of their loved ones or their people they love died with some certain ailments, and they were challenged to go online to start developing those things. So my question to you tonight is, there is no gap, there is nothing stopping you from becoming what you want to become. All you have to understand that every situation, every period you have is an opportunity to reassess. And I think even as an organization, small, medium scale enterprise or an individual, this chart will really help you to reassess, strategize and come out, strong as an innovative organization. Next slide. So I'm putting this slide is about social entrepreneurs responding to the COVID-19. So the truth is that 6 months ago, none of these guys actually knew that the COVID-19 will happen. But these are entrepreneurs who are already looking out for opportunities. And they say, what happened? What makes successful businessmen or successful entrepreneurs? These are people that are looking out for opportunities, also looking out, what change do I want to do? How can I make a difference? This is Dr. La Brown. Dr. La Brown is the founder of Flying Doctors. Flying Doctors is one of the foremost companies that started airlifting for people who have ill health to different parts of the world. So you could see by my left, it said Ogun State brings innovation to fight against COVID-19. The PPEs, the protective personal equipment that medical doctors wear, costs 50,000 naira to produce. And remind you, those things are to be worn only once. And once you wear it, it is all over. So once you test somebody, you wear it, you have to change it and wear another one. To tell you that if you wear about 5 or see about 10 or 20 or 30 people in a day, you could know how much it's going to cost us. For looking at the cubicle and Dr. La produced, they now looked at how do we save cost? Looking at that we are living in a resource-trained country. How do we save money? So she now developed this cubicle where now it's like a box. All they have to do is to put their hands through it, test people, and somebody comes and disinfects it. And this is saving the country a lot of money. And then she's writing her name on gold. The question is, Dr. Ola may have done that in her own capacity, in her own big way, but of course, these are people who have also started their journey in a very, very humble beginning. My question to you, in your little space, what are you doing to also just take your organization to the next level, also seize sees the situation to develop something that will really be positive or really help humanity. Next slide. So the next slide is for 54 Gene, which is led by Abasi Ene Ubong. This is my friend and somebody I worked in some couple of projects some years back. And I was so excited that now this organization has recently, I read in the news that they rolled out a mobile laboratory to boost Nigerians' coronavirus test capacity. So these are young entrepreneurs who are also standing the test of time and looking at how do we, take part of this situation? How do we provide solutions and solve the problem? And already the young man has been able to get support, so some tune of dollars from Union Bank to really push out these laboratories. If he wasn't thinking, he wouldn't have even been able to find this idea that will really be impactful to Nigerians. Next slide. So this is Temi Giwa Thompson. So she is the inventor, of blood. It's called Life Bank. But basically, what they do before, even some years a year back, or what they are meant to do naturally, is to lift blood, take bloods to hospitals, remote hospitals that need these bloods through drones. But when this situation of the coronavirus came on board, what did she do? She was able to work with Sterling Bank to sell her idea to her, and they were able to launch a testing center. In fact, within the first few weeks of the surge, she was able to create the first drive-through mass testing center individually in partnership with Sterling Bank. This is thinking in action. If she couldn't have thought, if you should have said, oh no, we are not reinventing ourselves, what we just do is basically, take blood to people, and that we are okay with it. She immediately responded to the situation and was able to be part of solving the problem and not part of the problem. So the question, and the truth about the matter is, when you're drawing all these ideas, there's never any clear strategy. There's never any clear way you say, oh, you have the ideas in yourself. It can never be. Yes. But the idea is, if you have the passion, if you have the energy, if you're strongly motivated, if you understand what you are here to do, energy can come from nowhere for you to solve that problem. But mind you, you can do this at every capacity. At every level you are, there is always something to give, irrespective of your background, irrespective of your educational background, irrespective of who you are. There is every opportunity to really, be this change and really contribute positively to enhance humanity. Next slide. So yeah, people might be saying, oh, Somto, I have this idea, I want to go into social entrepreneurship. I want to be a change maker. And what organizations or what are projects or what things do you think that we could do? So already the United Nations have what we call the Sustainable Development Goals, which of course I know most of us have seen. And these things are always, it's all over the place and it's been updated. So you could have a project in poverty. Number one is zero poverty, zero hunger, good well-being, which includes health, quality education, gender equality, clean health and sanitation, affordable clean energy. And then if you read on, you could see that these are different projects. And the truth about it is that most of international funders or people who want to fund your project, most of the time want to understand how your projects or your programs are linked to the SDG. So even if you're writing your proposal, if you're writing your plans or your proposal on business, once you note and link it up with the SDG and it is clearly written there, you have so much potential of having an audience or even getting a funding for your project. So these are different places that you can create different projects. For example, I had a friend, many years ago, when we left school and all of us were still, thinking about what do we really want to do with our life. One of them says, oh, I'm passionate about ensuring that saying no to rape and people taking people illegal migration and people taking people out of Nigeria and taking them to go and work somewhere. And this guy started it as a serious project. It is about, I think it's about 5 years now. This guy, honestly, I wouldn't lie to you, this guy, it wasn't easy. This young man was always trekking, he was always trekking, but you could see the zeal, you could see the energy, you could see a young man who is also deeply, deeply, deeply concerned about what he wanted to solve. Today, the story is different. This young man travels around the world. He does projects. He gets funding for this project. And you can also see he's doing amazing work. Another guy is Ronsi Chidobe, the guy that runs project Pink Blue.
Yes.
He also started a project Pink Blue as a CDS project. This one, it happened in as a CDS project. And this was happening in 2012, 2013. But today, Ronsi is one of the worldwide noticed or worldwide young man who is working in cancer, in advocating for cancer.
Yes.
He's over-traveled around the whole world, doing his work that he has been called to do. And each time you meet this young man, he's passionate about this, he's talking about this, and you also get to understand the work this guy is doing, because you understand that a lot of people are dying from the issues of cancer. And this young man has said that this is my purpose, this is what God has called me to do. I will do this whether it does not work. It's just like in the Bible where you had Habakkuk, who at a time he was praying and said, God, and said that even if the fig tree does not go through, I'll praise you. So that is how our vision would be. If you're working on a project, you will die there. Share would they use that word, they will die there. You look at it, if it is not working, you re-strategize. If it's not working, you get mentors, you get people who has worked in that area to guide you and see how you're going to do it. And these guys I've mentioned are doing absolutely very well, and I'm very, very, very proud of them. Next slide. So for you to also, be successful, basically, like I mentioned earlier, soft skills, both in your entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship journey, and also getting close to the post-COVID-19. There are some things that normally you have to have one day. And I'm going to pick, this is a lot, but I'm going to pick some skills that if you have it, there's nothing you cannot achieve. One is kindness. In your project as a CEO, as a development professional, as a boss, how do you deal with people around you? Are you kind to people? How do you work with your people? Do you work with them as a team? Is it a rule kind of platform? Is it a platform where you are so selfish about what you want to achieve, or people that are also working with you? Kindness is a very, very strong soft skill that one should have. I'm also going to talk about empathy. For you to be a very successful entrepreneur, social entrepreneur, also be very successful in life. Empathy is very, very necessary. When you work with people, when you deal with people, are you empathic about their situation? Are you empathic about how they feel? Are you empathic about their situation? When your staff or your co-worker is sick, are you angry? Are you shouting? Are you concerned sincerely about those people, getting well and getting back to work? These are key things that I think that as an individual, if you start developing it, you will start creating some lasting, strong relationship. History has shown that most of the time, people that work under you or people that you work with may go ahead to be in platforms or in places that you might need their direction someday in life. We don't want that to be the story, that we are speaking to people or we are working with people because we want to get out things from them. We want it to be a lifestyle that we are genuinely empathic to people. We are genuinely kind to people. We are genuinely, involved in people's life. This is a very soft skill that you begin to build relationships that never leave you. And you find out I tell people, money will always go. But when you have relationship, it's the highest currency you ever have. Just like people say, network is network. And also, who do you also have to speak to you on tables if you don't have good relationship? I remember I used to sit in a board, or I sit in a board in Holland, a grant-making board that give out grants to NGOs that are working in Africa. And in one of those boards I was sitting, in one of the meetings that we had, I called in some friends in Africa and said, oh, there's this fund for a project and I'm advising you to put in money. If the team says yes, you get the funding. So naturally, when we want to grant fund, we sit on the table and the highest person and we do like the democracy setting. When people look at it and say, oh, I agree, people get this funding. So when it came to the other guys, for one of the person I know, and I've seen him work his project over the years, this is somebody that I know is doing an amazing work. The whole room looked at it and said, that this guy doesn't look like someone that needs money. His website is on point, his materials, everything is on point. That we're looking for people that if you look at them, they need this grant, and they were looking at African country. And I stood up, I said, well, we Nigerians are very, 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 very packaged people. We prefer to do our things, even if it will cost us whatever it costs us, you prefer to do it very extremely, very, very well, to look very beautiful. And I made this argument for this young man. And at the end of the day, it was as if I was standing, but luckily I was able to get this successfully. And this young man was able to get this funding for his project. Second question, if I don't know this guy, or if I've never had a relationship, or if he's not a credible person, do you think I could have sat on that table to speak for him to get that funding? So my question to you is, what relationship are you having? What relationship have you been able to build over the years? These are important for even your post-COVID life. Because if you don't have credible or relationships that are based on money or based on finances, I'm sorry, there's a problem. Most of the deals or most of the funding you see most of the time are being decided, sorry to use the word, in beer parlors or in bars or in places, and people sit. And so I've seen what you have done. Either because of credibility, integrity, or what you have done, people are getting funding for their project always, and then you just find that you are not going anywhere because you've not been able to build this sustainable relationship. Then another one I have to talk about is humility and patience. Most young Nigerians are not ready to be patient. They are not ready to pay the price. They are not ready to sit under mentors. They are not ready to work under people to learn the ropes of the game. That is why I love my Igbo brothers. That before you start up a business in those days, you have to go under somebody and under mentorship. They train you for 6 years. After that, they give you money to go and start. And most of them become highly successful. We can see that with Innocent and some other successful Igbo men we have today. Those people have gone through the apprenticeship system. So I also see a lot of young people, they are passionate, they have so much energy, they want to start NGOs, they want to start development organization, and they want to just become CEO immediately. And you answer CEO with no portfolio. Why don't you submit yourself, volunteer for organizations, and work and understand the processes? Even don't pay. I've worked with organizations that never paid me a dime. But when I do things, I remember these are experiences I got because I've been able to be humble. I've been able to understand the concept of patience and the concept of humility. Rome was not built in a day. So you have to go through the ropes to understand. And that's why you see successful businessmen, when they want their children to take over the organization, they don't take them to become the CEOs. They make them to start from receptionists, to learn the ropes of the business and to understand the process. And this cannot be done without proper mentorship, direction, and guidance. So humility and patience is very key, in also being successful social entrepreneurs, also generally in life. So I'm going to take 2 more before I leave this page. So I'm also going to talk about listening. Most of us are so interested into what we have to say, or even what we want to say to people. Listening is a very, very amazing key. If you're a good listener, you'll be able to assimilate, understand what people are doing, and be able to work with them. Lastly, is purpose-driven. Purpose is the ultimate that governs everything here. What is your aim of starting up that organization? Have you discovered what you've been called to do? Have you discovered what you want to do in this life? Or have you also discovered the reason? Are you doing it because you want people to call you CEO? Are you doing it because you want to show your friends you have NGO? Are you doing it because you want to get money from government or to get people? I'm sorry, if you're there for those things, those NGOs will die between a natural death between 1 or 2 years, or even if it crosses the first or 2 months. So for you to start a development project or to start something, be rest assured that these are things that you're passionate about. These are things that beats your heart. These are things you want to really do to really enhance humanity and make your generation a better place. And the exciting things about this is that when you're working on it, you become excited. You are pumped. Every problem is like a puzzle. It's like when you play computer game and you're going through obstacles. As you're having these problems, you're becoming successful and you're moving to the next direction. Purpose is very difficult. That really drives basically all this presentation, because it is one of the first steps for you to really launch to become not just a successful social entrepreneur or NGO expert, but being a successful individual on your own. Next slide. So now, this slide is very, very important, and it's just, you could see, renewing your mind Everything that we've talked today depends on your mind. Everything you talk today depends on your mind. The mind, to me, is the greatest asset that every human being will ever possess, because everything starts and ends in the mind. So the question is, what do you think? What comes to your mind every day? What do you fill your mind with? Do you fill your mind with enthusiasm? Do you fill your mind with positive things? Do you fill your mind with exciting things? Do you fill your mind with things that are elevating? Recently, I felt sick, and I discovered that even why I was even falling, I was thinking it's just over a month, and those period I was thinking I had the virus. Not because I had the virus, but each time I watch the news online, I see on my phone, these people die and other people, it looks like I start having cough automatically. So the idea is, because I've been filling my mind with things that give me fear. Instead of doing that, fill your mind with good news, fill your mind with positive things. Most of us have experienced that things we watch on our phones or see on our phones before we go to bed, we end up dreaming about it. That is how the mind works. What you fill your mind has a connection to basically what you think. And then what do you say? What are the positive things you say? Do you say, those days when I was much younger, I had these notes in my place, and I wrote some things that I want to become and I want to see, and I had them placed every strategic place of my house. And I tell you, it is almost 6 or 7 years, and I've seen all those things I wake up to see, I wake up to see and I say about myself. Then basically, what do you see? I tell you that what you see is ultimate. If you see sickness, you get sickness. If you see positivity, you get positivity. Most of the business people you've seen, the Dubai you saw today, it was because a man has seen that Dubai will be today and said, this is how Dubai will be. And today, that is what is happening. We've seen businessmen that come to an empty plot of land and they look at it, they are seeing what you're not seeing. And they tell you that, I want to buy this land. Give me 2 or 3 years, you come back there, you'll not know the place. We've also seen that estate people will come and you see an empty land that doesn't look so ugly and look like people don't live there. But when estate people come and they develop, it come there within next to 2 or 3, 5 years, it becomes so magnificent. So what you see is very important. What you feed your mind is very important. And this goes to who you're listening to, who you relate to, who are your friends, what do you read online, who do you follow on social media? Who also are your mentors? Do you have mentors that guide you? There is no age that you lack mentor. At every time in your life, you need somebody that you should talk to at every point in your time. Many years ago, I met George Fraser, who is one of the most acclaimed motivational speakers. And I said, George, tell me, this motivational thing. He said, Somto, everybody needs motivation. It's such unfortunate that in our country, we don't value coaches. We don't value people who are building capacity and leading people to the next level. Everybody needs an encourager. We need them at every point of our journey. So do you have a coach? Do you have a motivator? Do you have a mentor? You all need this on your life journey. At the time, you're going to get tired. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to get tired. You need somebody that you just need to speak to. Just one word alone is okay for you. I've been able to develop mentors in different areas of my life, be it academic, be it religion, be it everything, be it marriage, everything. Every single individual needs somebody that inspires us, that leads us and makes us to become better. So your mind is the ultimate. It helps you to become who you are. So if you're able to conquer what comes in your mind, you're not just going to be great. You're going to be someone who will be so very impactful in this generation. Next slide. So I'm going to leave you with this quote. The difficulties you meet will resolve themselves as you advance. Please proceed. The light will drown and it will shine with increasing clearness on your path. Of course, the terrain will be difficult. Of course, we're in a season that nobody knows what tomorrow will look like. Of course, we're in the season that we don't know what will happen the next time. But what only keeps us that we have to wake up every day with our plans, keep working, keep hoping, and also as Christians, believing that tomorrow will be better than today. So I encourage you as an entrepreneur, as a business person, or whatever you are working more capacity on, try to find what you have been called to do. Work on it, keep working. What have been able to do or see myself today, honestly, it was never planned. I never saw it in any book, but I've hoped, I've had an idea of the kind of person I want to become, and I've constantly worked on it, hoping, and also, and every day, it keeps opening up and it keeps getting better. So thank you for listening to me. It's been able to have this conversation, and I hope it's been impactful. Thank you, DDK, for the opportunity. Thank you.
Wow. I mean, just completely amazing, Somto. Gosh, thank you very much for leading the conversation tonight and just opening us up to, enormous insights that I feel are not just valuable for the work that we do as far as social entrepreneurship is concerned, but also even for personal development as well as productivity, right? We're going on to the next 30 to 45 minutes of the webinar before we close today. I thank you, participants, because you have been so engaged. I can see your comments, and it's so great to see that you're picking valuable germs. I feel like one of the most profound things that Somto showed us today is that innovation actually doesn't take long, right? Innovation is rising to, rising in response to pressing problems in your community. And right in the midst of this global pandemic, the earth is going to be releasing and birthing those that I call social saviors, who are going to produce the answers that purposefully create change and elevate the quality of life for others in our communities and our society across the continent. And that person can be you, your organization, your impact project, or your desire to just make a change in a certain sphere of influence is going to be super critical. I want to just highlight 3 things that I also believe that are going to be so relevant for your journey into the next level of, scaling your social impact, as well as birthing innovations that will, that will solve the problems that have been created because of the pandemic. When I share these 3 things with you, we'll move on to reading out a few questions that you've shared with us to ask Somto today, and I will perching when necessary, and then I will be unmuting a few people who raise their hands if they want to share. So again, thank you so much, Somto. And when we get back to the question, Somto is going to be back on sharing some of his thoughts, and then we will unmute a few people who might want to share a comment or go ahead and ask their questions. So 3 things I want you to also really pay attention to. What we've done in the last 5 years at Ideation Hub Africa is really preparing early stage social entrepreneurs and change makers to be equipped to deliver purposeful work that really changes and makes the planet progress. And I find 3 things coming back again and again amidst the key triggers and drivers for social innovation today, especially on the continent of Africa. The first that I find is really clarifying your theory of change. And interestingly, a number of questions were asked around this. The beginning of really producing, powerful work that can be scaled and that can reach the grassroots or get to your beneficiaries is to really begin by clarifying your theory of change. And that speaks to getting into this space for the right reasons, right? We already can see from the way the terrain looks that philanthropic funding is drying up, and innovators in the development sector are going to have to rethink and create alternative strategies for funding, right? So it means that you can't even be here for the wrong reason. You can't be here because you want to get a chance to go on fellowships. You can't be here because you want to get a chance to get funding, or because, well, you didn't get a job in a for-profit business, and then you're just like, okay, let me find myself something to do. And it's not even enough to be passionate, right? You've got to be strategic, and you've got to see how your work ties to the sustainable development goals. So you've got to clarify your theory of change. What problem am I trying to solve? What will the future look like if I solve that problem? Is the problem really the problem, or is it the child of another problem, right? And that was one of the things I was sharing in Washington when I made that speech 2 years ago around how to fry fish to solve a difficult problem, right? Just get a bit creative. But at the heart of that conversation is what I'm saying to you again today. It's extremely important that you spend the time drilling down to the heart of what you really believe you've been called to do. And it begins with understanding the terrain, understanding the impact areas, right? There's education, energy and environment, gender advocacy, economic empowerment, right? there is waste management, housing and construction, just street children and street orphans and vulnerable children, different impact areas where you can consider stepping in and doing good work. And when you begin to really unbundle and tear open what the problems in those impact areas are, you might find that there are great dependencies between a problem and another, because sometimes it's a string of wicked problems, and you have to be able to undress what the issues are till you get to the heart of what you believe you really want to solve, right? Yes. And until you've undressed the problem, your solutions will just be boardroom hypotheses that may not sit in real life and within the realities of community, right? So that's the first thing you want to pay attention to. The second thing you want to pay attention to, thank you, Olakwejo, I can see your hand, and we're going to come to you. The second thing you really want to pay attention to is the power of community-centric research. In the days ahead, in the days while we are right here in the midst of the COVID pandemic, and in the days beyond the COVID pandemic, you cannot make conclusions simply by getting data from Malaysia and trying to template it on a Nigerian situation and say, if this is how they fixed public primary education in Singapore, it's got to work here. Not necessarily. And you can't just sit behind your computer and make conclusions because you Googled up something. If you are going to be a forward-thinking innovator that is going to craft solutions based on working models to solve a problem, whatever that problem is going to be, you need to step into the communities. You need to feel their pain, right? You want to deal with children who have dropped out of school. You can't just sit behind your laptop and imagine that these are the problems they have, because that is what has created this laughable situation of handing back to school packs. And I'm sorry for touching that table, but back to school packs with biro, pencil, eraser, and noodles is not what fixes, the crisis of public primary education in Nigeria, for example, right? You need real data. And that data isn't available. That is what makes us, a developing economy. Those are the challenges that come with, being, a developing economy. Our data is not refined, and in some cases is totally absent. So you must begin to consider community-centric research. You need to enter into those communities, into those spaces, and begin to ask questions that really can create the change that you're looking for. It is when you understand what the problems are that you can begin to answer the question, what sort of strategies, right, are we going to leverage to intervene, and not just on a one-off level, but on a sustainable level, right? And yes, from the point where you are certain about what your theory of change is, what the real problem is, and you move on to beginning to embrace community-centric research, you are going to produce a linkage between what the issues are and what the future looks like as far as the sustainable development goals are. Do you see? And until that linkage between your work and the SDGs are concerned, it's going to be tough to find resources. It's going to be tough to see a clear future, and it's going to be tough, to really intervene and provide the solutions that you believe will work. The third and final thing that I would like to share, we've been shouting this one for many years, and we've seen a lot of improvements in how social entrepreneurs and social innovators, change makers have started to deal as far as this is concerned, but we still have a long way to go, right? And the third thing here is strategic collaborations. And I know that is quite like such a almost pedestrian thing. Everyone's just like, collaborations, yeah, I know that, but we don't do it enough. We don't do it enough. Let me tell you one of the most troubling things about the development sector in Nigeria. The development sector in Nigeria has, across Africa, the largest amount of registered non-governmental organizations and impact-driven businesses. Nigeria has the highest number of registered NGOs in Africa. And don't forget, we also have NGIs. We have the non-governmental individuals who are not even registered, but are doing this or that. So imagine what the full picture looks like. Yet, we are at a best, what the data shows is that the cumulative social impact being created by across Nigeria relative to the number or relative to the extent of the crisis in the communities and the impact areas to be fixed puts us at about a sixth in the order of African countries creating impact to the degree of challenges that he has to face. Rwanda is leading the charge. Nairobi is the second biggest capital of the development practice, right, on the continent. Why is this so? The reason it is so is because so many Nigerians are working in silos. Many practitioners in the development sector just want to have something behind their name, whereas some things can never happen until we come together. Number one, we will never begin to participate in public policy if we don't become a force that the engine of development called the government begins to pay attention to us. So you may not be able to get through to your local government chairman, but if we went as an association of or a collective, where we're likely to get the support we need. And there is a level of work we can't get done until we begin to partner at the level of public policy formulation, public policy advocacy. The second thing you need collaboration for is the kind of challenges we're dealing with are what we call wicked problems, problems that have children of problems and children of problems, right? And when you are faced with a mammoth challenge, a mammoth social crisis, you also need a gathering, a collective to come together to fix it, especially because usually it's not just education. Education triples into healthcare, and healthcare triples into gender advocacy, and gender advocacy triples into orphans and vulnerable children. And it's just linked like that, right? And so we need cross-sectoral collaborations if we're going to succeed. I know that I've gone on and on because for real, these are things that I'm definitely super passionate about. I'm going to be bringing Somto back in now. And Somto, are you ready? I have a question for you.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Fantastic. So let me get ready to put you back in the spotlight. Someone is asking here, and this is a question that came again and again, and it's for those who are for-profit entrepreneurs fully running their business, but starting to say, how can I be more socially responsible? How can I make corporate social investments that can impact on my community, even though I want to earn a profit? So this person is saying, look, how can we be more socially responsible? How can our customers feel the impact of our contributions? How do I know the type of impact initiatives I should get into, right? I'm a fashion entrepreneur. I sell clothes, I love it. I design outfits, I produce. How do I recognize an impact initiative I should engage in? And how will I create something that makes a difference in the life of my customers and the community? So you are on now, Somto.
Yeah, so basically, if you ask me, globally, the word that has been the buzz for the past recent years is sustainability. So everybody's talking about sustainability.
Yes.
And that is why you could find out a lot of global or international organizations who are not really doing well or are not taking CSR seriously are also investing so much in corporate social responsibility. So because me, basically, as a humanist and as and someone who love the word sustainability, I believe that if you're doing business in a community, you should also be giving back in that community, because you're taking something from them, and you should be able to give something back to them. So how do you do this? These are people you interact with again. That's why I tell people, you don't just get into a project because you're getting into a project. You get into a project with a very good, accurate data and analysis of what the problem is. And that is why you have to start up with a situational analysis, understanding the problem, because you cannot tackle an issue without understanding the problem. You need to understand the problem before you understand how to provide solution to it. So in times like this, I'm going to advise organizations or small businesses. CSR is good, is wonderful, both in the eyes of God and also with people that you're working with, because somehow it helps you to create a community. Yes, another word now, buzz now is community. Businesses are creating communities, and communities are people that will be with you, understand the product even before your products are out. They are waiting to buy that product because you've been able to understand who the community are. what your community needs, and how to always, work closely with your community. In every community, in every industry, in every area, there is always an issue. And but for you to tackle that issue, you have to run a very clear analytical situation analysis, understanding the problems of these people, having discussions with them, having conversations with them. And with that, you're able to get a clear understanding of what these people want and how to go in about it. And let me tell you, you don't need millions of naira to get into CSR. You don't need to put so much money. It might be a little capacity building. It might be just a small providing free classes to people around you, free tailoring classes to young people. You must start with Mr. A or Mr. B. One life at a time is important. Even if it's one life you impacted once every year, is a strong CSR. That person will go ahead to do the same for other people. It goes as a trickle-down effect. So you don't need so much money to start CSR. You can start with what you have. And I also tell people that sometimes you don't need to give people money. A mere advice, a mere support, what you have, translating it in terms of training, also getting people involved in what you're doing will go a very, very long way, in solving the problem. But it's important to first run a situation analysis, understand what the people need, and see how you're going to deploy available resources to solve the problems of these people.
Oh, wow. So well said. I love it very much. Well done. I agree completely. Now, someone is asking, to create sustainable social change, one needs to be abreast of trends and foresee opportunities that pose a challenge in a particular season, and that is well said. What do you see, Somto, as trends or opportunities in this current pandemic that social change makers can leverage to position themselves for impact? And what possible steps can we take to seize these opportunities? You've shared some of them, but maybe you want to now zoom in and take it further. In the midst of this pandemic, what are obvious opportunity areas for a social entrepreneur, or a nonprofit professional, and what steps can they take to begin to harness those opportunities? For sure, you've spoken about technology, and I know you might want to take it further.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I think the word here is technology. Yep. And that's why there's been a lot of buzz on the internet about the 5G, and all that. But the truth is that internet has come to stay with us, and thank God for internet. If not, we're not going to be having this conversation. I don't think 10 years ago, you could be able to have 194 people in one room comfortably having discussions as if we are all together. I also mentioned earlier that people are having Zoom weddings, and you'll be so amazed, a lot of ideas. I read on the internet that Facebook is now creating a system on its platform where entertainers can actually charge money for people to come into private shows online, because of the virus, of course, wow. Social distancing, they cannot have people come attend. I also read that conferences can also get on this platform. People can pay to attend those virtual conferences. So the world is changing, and I'm going to advise every young Nigerians, wherever you are, if you don't say, I'm not good with the internet, or it is their thing, I don't know how it works, you have to learn how to do this, unless you're going to be out of job soon, So the Internet of Things have come to play. AI, digital, people are now talking digital economy. How do you leverage on this? And also businesses of graphics designs, visual photography, all these things are things that are going to trend, because now people are pushing these things online, and this is how people are going to really live the next life. We are all going online. So whatever CSR or whatever business or whatever you're doing should be strategically aligned digitally. If not, you're not going to grow. Of course, we all know what is happening. Instagram is the next oil. People call Instagram oil. There are people that they have been on Instagram and they make money monthly, monthly, just with the advert and what they do on Instagram. They don't do any other thing, just Instagram. That should tell you the power of digital technology. That should tell you the power of the internet. And it's an advice to myself and to every individual here. It's something you must learn, and you must clearly see how you could leverage on it. If you don't know, get people that know how to do that. And time has passed where you have to go to school to become a computer expert. Of course, it's good to have the natural law, but I've seen people around the world that have just had some crash courses in coding and some designs and some things online, and these guys are doing extremely very well, and they are earning 6 figures. And the truth is that you can work anywhere around the whole world. You know, you have platforms now that you can really register as a freelancer. You make money. I've hired a lot of people in those platforms. You don't see them, they get to do your work, you pay them, and those people are making money every time. So to me, I think that the next thing, or whoever that is trying to look into the next big thing, or how to really spread your activities or the platform you're doing, please tie it to the digital technology, because it is here now, it is here to stay, and no one will do anything about it.
Wow, I love it. And I want to just give some strength to something you said, you know, while your presentation was going on, which I feel is great to reiterate at this point. There are many Ivy League universities that are now offering for free courses that were worth thousands of dollars and thousands of pounds, right? So this is also a great time to learn about innovation, because at the heart of delivering social impact is mastering the models for innovation. And innovation is basically saying, how are we going to use today's solutions, right, and solutions of the future to solve the pressing challenges that we're faced with today? And sometimes the answer will come from a different industry, meaning that you might look at transportation and be able to carry a template, right? And, you know, sit it well within what you are doing in healthcare. You might carry something from fashion, because there's going to be cross-breeding as well across industries. But here's my point: because innovation isn't like an emotional skill that you wake up with, it's a competence that you must acquire and apply. It means that this is a perfect time for you to also begin to learn for free, or almost for free, keeping yourself ahead.
And also, if I could add, if I could add that, I had this young man who has been my very, very good friend. I think 3 years ago, I met him, and at that time we were having a conversation. You know, he graduated, and the people funding his education cut the funding, and this young man was like, "What do I do with my life?" And then he woke up one day and said he wants to go into photography. This was happening in 2000 and approximately 2013, 2014. And then he borrowed money from like 3 or 4 people and went on YouTube to learn photography. And then after learning photography, he started doing photography, weddings and all that. But like just the same volunteering, he volunteered for an organization in Abuja, and started working to them and said, offering that I will do photography for you for free. And he started going on their project and taking amazing pictures, still updating himself on YouTube. But to cut the long story short, the guy is one of the best documentary, because he now went to master and major on documentary. So he's now one of the best documentary photographers in the world. No, not in the world, sorry, in Africa. You know, because anywhere I am in the world, I call him and say, I send people his work. Even the people that are too good will say, please, we want to meet this guy. And now this guy gets his payments in euros and dollars. And this was somebody that didn't go to any school, didn't pay any money, went to the YouTube and schooled himself on how this is done. And this guy is doing amazingly, very, very, very well. Like he's like homegrown. He travels around the whole world to just go take documentary pictures. When CNN is coming to Nigeria or Daily Post or international, they call him and say, "Oh, we are doing this shot. We want you to do this and take it to us." And this guy is doing amazing work. And that's to show you that we can leverage on digital technology to advance our knowledge. Time has passed where you have to pay so much money.
Yes, I love it. Very well said. Let me run along, take maybe 2 more questions, and then give some of our amazing participants a chance to share. Someone is asking this, and I'm going to sort of tie it, because Somto, I have about 3 questions around this same issue. Someone started off by saying, let me open up with that first question, because I thought it was just so interesting. This person says, some of us that have attempted to solve a social problem, we find that the issues are so intertwined and complicated that it becomes difficult to solve one problem without trying to attend to the other problems. This causes frustration, which leads to many people dropping the ball, while others become jack of all trades, right? And someone else went ahead to ask, you know, a similar question, saying, as a nonprofit organization, I find myself needing to switch to another impact area that I believe we will fit in better, but I don't want to appear unserious to our partners and our funders. So here's how I'm just going to ask this question. Somto, you have done enormous work over a decade with international development organization. Today, you're sitting on boards of prominent international nonprofits. Your name has literally gone viral in the Netherlands for the work you've done. Working with organizations, being on the board, and the role you currently play at Farmer Access. My question to you is this: what does it take for a young social entrepreneur or a young NGO leader to really recognize what problem they want to solve and be able to extricate it from other intertwining problems, to be able to say, I want to solve this problem. This is where we believe we've been sent, and really understand, based on data, whatever you recommend, what the real issues are?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. So I still go back, sorry, I'm not going to be technical on this question. I still go back to a more basic thing I always tell people to, because to me, I think it's the basics, and I'll use the word purpose and what your heart beats for, because your purpose is what your heart beats for. And what your heart beats for is what your heart will always go back to. It's just like being in love with someone. When you're in love with someone, you will always think about that person. No matter how mad that person annoys you, you always find ways to make things amends with that person. But that doesn't mean you wouldn't be flexible. That doesn't mean you wouldn't be innovative and change and tweak things with time. So over time, I have done some couple of projects, taking example on myself, especially a lot of capacity building projects. But I have discovered that I have the strength in getting people to be the best they can be and do things very well. And I find that even in every platform I find myself, because of that thing I'm passionate about, I still go back to talk about it, and it still gets to add value. So my thing now is, I'm doing linked to what they are doing. So, and this is where deep thinking comes. Deep thinking is very, very important. So identity is good, because I believe that whatever you stand for, you should stay on that thing, because if you keep on changing, you confuse people. It's just like you see a lot of entrepreneurs starting. People, Sunday, the girl is making hair. Another day, say, oh, no, I'm not making hair again. I'm into cake baking. As I've come another day, says no more cake baking. I'm now selling glasses. So how you confusion of personalities. So it's the same thing of people. Today, I know you're doing health. Another day I come, so I'm not doing health again. No, I am into immigration. Just different thing. It gets confused. And the truth is that I've sat many times, and ideas come to my head, and I get people I want to hire on consultancy. Who comes to my mind? Is that same guy I see posting about one particular thing every day on the internet? Is that same guy that I see that is talking leadership every day? Is that same guy that I see talking about health every day? But what I'm trying to say is that you're talking about health, you're in something, you should be very discerning with time. Times change, things change, and the truth that people that are selling toothpaste, they are still selling toothpaste. But what they have been able to do over the years is to rebrand and repackage and get that toothpaste to go with times. It's the same thing with the beer or drinks or whatever people drink. It's the same drink, but they make sure that they repackage it to go with the trends and with the time. So in my organization, if I'm hiring consultants, or if I want to get people to do projects, is that same person I see who have stayed the cost over a long period of time. But when you see funders or you see people are doing things, and that is why you should get mentors. You should get people who have gone through that path. This is what I want to do. Please, can you help me to see how I'm going to connect this to what is happening? And the truth, you've mentioned this. All these things are intertwined to them. It's called, the word is going to the era of collaboration and multi-sectorial collaboration. Multi-sectorial collaboration means that every development problem connects to everything. Health connects to clean water. Clean water connects to lack of education. Lack of education connects to poverty. So these things are intertwined, but it just requires good guidance and good deep thinking and collaboration.
I love that.
But stay true to who you are. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't try to move completely. Keep doing what you're doing, but always find a way to change with times.
I hear you, and I mean, this is so well said. I'm going to ask you one final question for now, and we will now take questions from the participants before we close today. This person says, let me see, this person says, it's not news that money is a driver of change. Also, a vast population of social development players rely on grants as a means of funding the big ideas. In recent times, it appears these funding and grants are not as forthcoming as before. What other means can we explore, and how do we approach it? Especially you who have been, you've been on the board of grant-making organizations. So give it to us.
Well, I think the word here, to me, I think two strategies. One is your network. They said your network is your net worth. Who are your friends? What events do you attend? What seminars or programs, where are you seen? How are you also presenting yourself? Do you have good knowledge of the ideas you have? Most of the things I do, or most of the programs I do, I've had conversations with people and they call me up and say, we need you to come on this board. We think you can do this. And I'll say, I'll think about it. Well, because we've had conversation and I'm not asking you, I'm not looking the spirit and say, I want to do this. But I'll tell you your problem. I say, this is your organization. This I think that I can do. If you do this, you could do it much better. It could look much better. So you need to build your contacts. You need to build your network. It's very, very necessary. And this is good by trying to, get mentors, volunteer, get into their space. Don't encroach in their space. Get into their space, offer services, and also invest in yourself too, no matter how little. You might not have the money, but the best investment one can make is in yourself. Because if you invest yourself with good education and good knowledge, you will be more inspired to also know how to even relate with people and build that contact. So try and expand your network, both in your church. When you are with people, try and have meaningful conversations. When you introduce yourself, you have conversations with people. At the end of the day, try and also present what you do in such a way that it will be interesting to people and you leave an indelible mark in people. I say, if you're talking with people or you're talking with somebody and I can't go back and I'm sleeping, I think about one brilliant guy or one brilliant girl I do that is doing one amazing job. I might not have a solution to your thing, but I might know somebody that I can call. I say, there's this guy that is doing this. And I can think that if you get him on board, you'll be able to help. And that's why I said love, kindness, humility, and those soft skills are so nice. Humility, I've gone to an event, in a very global event, and we had drinks. And there was this lady that just passed, white, and then this was in Netherlands. And then she was just looking, she wasn't looking that, well-dressed and all that, and I didn't really bother to have conversation with her. But afterwards, then we're having the keynote. She was apparently the keynote speaker. And then I discovered that she was the Director General for Communications for the whole United Nations in the world, in Belgium. And she was, you could never know. And that's why I say humility. Try and be kind to people. Try, when you meet people, try to know them. Don't be interested in what you get off them, but be interested in knowing people genuinely, loving people and making meaningful friendship. And some of us, when we approach people, we are so much interested in what we get out of them. Even when they look at you, it is so visible in you that you're desperate. And that is not how things can come out of such relationship. So try to build people, be people's friends, and try to let people know you can always be of value. And there is no time, money is secondary. Most times we meet people we want to get, first offer services free. So try, please, what can I do? What can I do to help? What can I do to support? What can I do to move your work forward? What can I contribute? You can never lose a life by giving, especially when you give knowledge, when you give anything. It will always come back to you 1,000-fold, even if it doesn't come immediately. So your network is very, very important. And secondly, I also understand there is no money. Since I was born, and I remember if I tell my parents that I need money today, they say there is no money. So there is no any time that there will be money for any project. But there's still money. People are handling projects. They are signing millions. Dollars are passing by, and things are happening. So the thing is also what you see and also what you believe and also how you strategize yourself. You need to do research. You need to go online. You need to search for these things. They're online. And also, if you don't know, try and single out people that are already doing it. Make them your friends. Initially, there was a time I was trying to, write some application, and it was very difficult. I had to meet people that know how to do it for them to guide me and help me do those things. And from there, I started learning and I started becoming much better. And another thing I also tell people is your publicity. Time has passed when you need to pay money for your Facebook Instagram, internet, and all those things. It should be clear that whenever I go to your platform, I should have a clear glimpse of who you are, what you do, and what you represent. Because sometimes people, development partners, or people just go online looking for, oh, we want to search for some, we're searching for, and they put some keywords, and anybody that come out in that vicinity, the person gets it. And also, most of the time, we try to give out funding or things. They say, okay, go online and search out for these people to know if we want to find out anything about them. Your social media platforms or whatever you have represent who you are. These days, they are like your international passport to wherever you're going to. So you should take it seriously. It's no more where people play. It's no more just, every platform is very, very, very interesting and very, very useful. So you should also take these things very, very seriously, and it will help build your network. I have a lot to say, but I think we'll leave it there. And of course, we'll have these conversations going forward. It's an ongoing conversation. It can never finish.
Yes. I love it so much. I love the insights you shared. So powerful. Guys, before we go on to take some hands, and you can actually start to raise your hand so that I can be alerted and unmute you so you can ask your question or make your comment. I just want to pass on two very important information to you. The first is that, and this is the moment where drums roll. Yeah, the first is that Ideation Hub Africa is preparing to host what is called the African Masterclass Series, which is an online incubator really over a 6-week period, helping thousands of early stage change makers like you to access a powerful ecosystem of other change makers, powerful resources across the 15 core competencies for delivering, creating, and scaling impact along the lines of the Sustainable Development Goals, as well as accessing mentors who have done work along the lines of these competencies all across Africa. We're going to be bringing it to you absolutely free, and very soon you get a chance to register to apply for it. If you get selected, you get on board into that online incubator, and there's no telling how it can really radically impact on your effectiveness as a social entrepreneur. By the way, can I say to you, if you joined us and you're just saying, well, I'm just trying to understand this whole social entrepreneurship thing, I'm more a business person, can I tell you, one of the big trends that I see on the landscape of the world post-COVID-19 is that businesses would have to be reshaped to have a social impact to lean in. Whatever it is that you do, your success is going to be connected to your purpose on the planet beyond money. So it's going to be beyond profit. Every business is going to thrive if it understands how to be restructured and repositioned to deliver social investment as well. So these are lessons you want to begin to master in preparation for what is ahead in the future, because the problems and the challenges that are going to be created, especially in developing countries, post-COVID are going to be enormous, that you can't actually do business in a community without giving back to that community, right? And it's going to be such a great experience for you to have. We are so pleased by our lineup of speakers and mentors for this incubator, and we just really look forward to it to start. In a few weeks, you will be informed. And one of the ways that you want to also, get on board and be a part of our community is by taking our survey. If you take the survey, it also means we get your email address and we can push out the recording of this webinar, both the audio and the video, to you for free. So I believe that one of our team members will be putting up the survey link right now, and you can go ahead and keep that information and be able to fill the survey afterward, give us feedback, and then we'll be able to reach you back and provide more details to you about the program as well as the recording of this webinar. I'm going to be unmuting you now, Jane Oluwadare. Please be very brief and go straight to what you want to share with us. Thank you very much. So
thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much, CDK. Thank you so much, Somto. Like, you shared quite a number of insightful things, but I want to kind of draw you back a little bit to the point where you were talking about people who see an underlying problem. I did start out in social entrepreneurship from the not-for-profit angle. I started from the business angle and then got into a space where I started to use the job slot to solve the underlying problem of female empowerment and marginalization. That was when I lived in the North. But one of the things that you see is that you get into the problem and you see an underlying one, and it becomes nearly impossible to actually get anything done unless the underlying one is solved. And yes, one of the things that I have heard is that it often helps if you can clearly define what your big why is and then work from that angle. But one other thing that I also saw consistently is that until the two until there's a merge between the two solutions that you are preferring, it often looks like you are scattered. You are trying to solve the underlying problem because without it, you can't move forward. But until that happens, it looks like you're doing too many things. So when she asked that question, when the question was asked, it resonated because this is a problem that we so often face. You get in there, you want to tackle the problem of female education, then you see that the problem was backed by community exposure, or you were even just trying to try and create job opportunities for women, and then you find out that education is a problem. It goes different ways. So how do we get to the point where we can tell a brand story that links and clearly shows everything so that you don't look scattered? Because in reality, you don't get to do anything unless the underlying problem has not been tackled. And I know that there is a point that you grow to that you can say assign or collaborate, but sometimes there are times where collaboration is a feasible solution that you are waiting on, but you're waiting on it and you're hanging in there for weeks, months. Do we just abandon the traction? Do we just abandon what we're trying to do? Or is there a way we can circumnavigate this problem and just sell the story in a way that it does not
get the question, or is it getting super long?
No, I understand totally what I understand. Okay. Understand the question. Can I go ahead and answer now? Can I answer now?
Yes, please. Yes, okay. Please.
Yeah. So even international organizations, like the USID and the DFID, with my experience with them, they all have their streams of work, and we've had occasions when they go to do an intervention, and these issues come. The truth is that they cannot go into it because it is not on their stream of work. What they have to do is either they wait or they have to find people to partner with, organizations or community people that are also working on that project. I also got the fact that you said that, of course, there are some 7 levels you'll be, and you might not be able to collaborate or to be able to even look at funding. But the truth about the story is, whenever you have a problem, most of the time there's always another problem associated with it, and there's always going to be a way to solve it. I'm an incurable optimist, and I still believe the word here is collaboration. How can we find people who are doing something in this area? If we can't even find people that are doing something in this area, what do we do in our own capacity to really help the situation? In fact, to even make our work to move forward. So I think just like so many years ago, we had this project that we went to do in a village, in somewhere in Bogolada when I was still in the university. And then we actually went to do a waste to wealth project, environmental project. And we got there and they said that is not actually what they need, that their problem that they're having is that their young girls are getting pregnant and issues of HIV/AIDS, So what we did that, I think we did some small research. I tried to find out other people that are doing something in the area. And we came back next time with them to start a bit of that. And the truth is that doing brand stories is very important. No matter how you're writing your story, in always a project, you always link it that this is what we went to do. But when we got to do this was the problem that we found. And sometimes even most funders will also understand, because most of the time, what they want to know is the processes. How do you even go to solve the problem, and not really the success? You can never solve development problem 100%. It's iterative. As you do it, it opens up. So every international organization, no matter how much money you have, any project you're working, as you're doing it, problems are more opening up. It is never ending. And that's why I say people should do what they love, what they are passionate about. Because if you're doing it, you stay on it, you always find a way to at least have little success. And that's why they say every success, no matter how little, should be a success story. I don't know if I've answered, but I tried my best to answer.
Wow. Thank you so much. I'm going to get Precious Adigwe to share now. I have unmuted you, Precious, so you can run.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, so I came in quite late, but I think at the point where I came in, you were actually making some very important points, and I need to ask a question. So currently, I work with an NGO that deals with issues that have to deal with child abuse, sexual abuse, and gender-based violence. And yes, so you do not really want to attend to that particular problem as a problem. So when we are faced with such kind of issues, where
Precious might have a bit of maybe a network situation, so we might be able to pick her back. I'm going to unmute Kumbi now, and you have the show.
Yeah, so I wasn't going to ask a question. I just wanted to shed more light to what Somto said. I think it was getting close. Can you hear me though?
Would you hold on?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's not okay for you to just enter like that, and I don't give you a proper introduction. So Kumbi, who many people might know as Kumbi Adeoye, and she's the executive director at Sheshewa. She's recently graduating from Harvard, running her postgraduate program. And she's one of the early starters in the career development, internship, and education space in Nigeria. And she's become like a global expert from Nigeria to other parts of the world, has been a Mandela Washington fellow. I mean, she's just all-round inspiration. So we have to listen closely when Kumbi is speaking, really. So yeah, you can go on now.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about the question she asked. I really feel that question so much. You know, one of our friends, Isaiah Owolabi, wanted to give some people malaria projects. He was doing the malaria work, and he was giving them fishing nets. And when they went back to the town, they realized that they were using the fishing nets for, the malaria, mosquito nets rather, that they were using it for fishing nets.
Yeah.
And you're asking yourself, that's not what I intended. I wanted to help them solve the malaria challenge. And then all of a sudden you realize that some of the things you want to really solve are probably lying with poverty, along the poverty lines and along information line. So I feel this calls for, like Somto mentioned, it also calls for talking about it. I feel like we talk a lot about the fact that data is missing, but we do not find ways to tell the stories. And he mentioned it when he was talking about it. It's important that we talk about what challenges we faced, not just as a response to the people who give the grants, but also as a way of writing about it, an article, or just writing a paper, or letting people know that, okay, these challenges occur in this part of the world, such that if for the people who create funds or who create grants outside of the country, most of the time, sometimes they do not have a direct understanding of the problem. And this kind of conversations on paper can make a very good case for what exactly they should be focusing on, or the likely challenge that may occur out of situations like that. So I really feel that question is so powerful in itself, and it's likely to happen a lot of times.
Yeah.
And in addition to what he said about collaboration, it doesn't get any better than that. Bringing together people to be able to solve a problem, and also being flexible within your own self to understand that, okay, this problem I'm trying to solve, there may be other ways to handle it or to solve it than the way that I initially, thought about.
Wow.
Thank you, Kumbi.
Always such a joy to hear from you. Very, very valuable insights shared. This is impromptu, but before we leave, Raphael Stephen is here. I don't know if he's actively listening right now, but if you are, please raise your hand and let me know if you are happy to just, pitching a bit. Raphael Stephen was our 2018 Talent of the Future overall winner. And he was recognized for his brilliant work with, promoting leadership ethics and building values for the new Nigeria among students in secondary schools. And he's done such a brilliant work. I would just not mind him pitching in before we leave tonight, because he represents an example of a young change maker who started out without, literally no infrastructure, but his work has gone state to state across the Federation. So if you are able to pitch in, you just can raise your hand and let me know if you want me to unmute you, Raphael. I see no sign from his side though, so I do not know if he is actively present at this moment. But Somto, it's been such a brilliant time with you, and I will now be letting you share your final thoughts as we gradually bring this to a close tonight.
Thank you so much, DDK. It's been a great opportunity to have this talk. Thank you, Kumbi, for that insightful contribution. So basically, the what I'm going to leave with everyone this night is, it's never been easy. That's just the truth. It's not easy from everyone. So even the people you read about and the CVs and the profile, it's never been an easy journey. Even when you get to that particular place you want to be, there's always something to do more. So it is a journey. And that is why I always live with people and every single person on this platform. One of the biggest things you could do for yourself to have peace, understand life and work, is to find something that you love doing that will help advance humanity. Most of us are lucky we are doing that for a living. Most of us have to do other things to save up money to do them. Most of us we are lucky enough to start it. But one of the amazing things you could do is to find something that you could do to also advance humanity. And also in this period that we are, unprecedented times, your mental health is very, very, very important. Please be mindful of what you read on the internet and platforms you go to and the news you're reading. Your mental health is what you have to protect by all means, because you have to be sound for you to be creative. You have to be sound for you to be inspiring, to churn out things, for you to write and everything. And also lastly, I also have to tell you, you're not doing bad, you're doing well. You're just in the process, all in the process, so don't feel, oh, I've not done much. Like I said, every story is a success story. That you are alive today and listening to this, it shows that you're advancing because you're improving yourself to become a better person. Whoever successful person or whoever you've able to see today that is doing extremely very well, it was never that way. It has always been a journey. And just find what you want to do and keep doing it. And also learn to reach out to coaches, learn to sign up, no matter how small, pay for little classes to get knowledge and invest in yourself. And also trust the process. Rome was not built in a day. It takes time to build processes. It takes time to build systems. But most importantly, if you're lucky to do what you love, you do it extremely well. And the future, will be a testament that you didn't just come to just enjoy. You didn't just come to this world, but in fact, you came to really be an agent of change and impact your world positively. I'll be so excited to hear someone say, oh, it was because of this webinar, I was empowered to start this innovation. Yes. Because of this webinar, I was able to organize myself, organize my project, and this is the input we've made. Now we want to hear these stories from you. Please, if you write everything, if you have any testimonial, please then reach out to DDK. You know, whatever you could write, this is a testament that at least we could keep that to encourage us to even do more better. Thank you very much, and thank you, DDK, for inviting me.
Wow. Oh gosh. I have had a breathtaking time today, and I hope that you feel the same way. It's been so good, right? I really, really thank you for diving in, doing this with us for 2 whole hours. And please remember that we are getting out to you with the online incubator starting in a few weeks. It's called the African Masterclass Series, and the first edition is around creating and catalyzing social impact. So we're churning out thousands of social innovators, and we have amazing global institutions partnering with us on it. We cannot wait to share with you more details about this. Don't forget, you should also give us feedback as your own way of saying thank you for this webinar, and then we're able to get your email and pass on the recording of this webinar to you. I want to thank our project director, Tony Banjo, for setting up the stage for this extraordinary event today. Thank you so much for the brilliant work you do. She's also the executive director actually at Managers Toolkit Africa, which equips you to get your volunteer game going. And you should check out Managers Toolkit Africa to see the brilliant work that she's doing. Thank you to Dorothy, Catherine, Shegun. Thank you so much, Okwemi. It's been just such a joy putting this webinar together. Thank you, Jane, for sharing. Kumbi, was great listening to you. Sorry that we lost you, the third person who was sharing. And great thanks to just every single participant who joined today. As we close, I would love to leave you with this last thought, which is just what I read right now, and it resonated so strongly with me, from Ugochi Obidiegu, who is the lead at the Safety Chick International. She's doing a brilliant work, you know, sensitizing Africans around safety and global standards for safety. What she just said in the comment section right now was actually your little counts in the grand scheme of things. And I don't want you to ever get discouraged doing the brilliant work that you do as a social entrepreneur, a nonprofit organization, or just a person who is passionate about your community, because your little counts truly so much more than you think it does, and it's all coming together, right? And finally, before I leave, I want to thank, you know, our network of volunteers who have continued to work in the background, helping Ideation Hub Africa accomplish our goals and get on with the goals and the assignment of impacting the development sector in Africa positively. So thank you, guys, and this is where we actually close the curtain for today. We will be happy to hold another webinar very soon, and we'll definitely keep you informed as that process begins. Thanks again, and we will see you at the feedback side. Thank you.
Thank you.